Here's a question I have carried with me for many years. What does it really mean to be free? The answer to this question was revealed to me through the life of my spiritual mentor, Sakai Yusai Dai-Ajari. He was a Buddhist monk who twice completed the Sennichi Kaihōgyō, an ascetic practice in Japanese Buddhism. Human beings have a strange kind of freedom. Before we act, we can imagine endless possibilities. Maybe I should do this, or maybe that. Before anything begins, we can imagine ourselves going in almost any direction. But the moment we take a single step, that freedom changes. The path we choose will have hills, headwinds will blow, unexpected things will happen. And once we begin walking, we have to encounter reality as it unfolds. The freedom thinking gives way to another kind of freedom. The freedom to face reality and keep walking through it. There's an old European thought experiment known as Buridan's donkey. A donkey stands between two identical piles of hay, each exactly the same distance away. Unable to choose, the donkey stops. Of course, real donkeys do not behave like this. But the story tells us something about ourselves. Maybe there's a better option. What if I fail? Let me think a little longer. And while we keep thinking, life quietly passes by. The freedom we have before taking action contains a hidden danger. The freedom to go nowhere. Action, on the other hand, can feel like a loss of freedom. Once we choose a path, other possibilities disappear. Things do not go as planned. We fail. We get hurt. We discover that reality is much more complicated than anything we imagined. And yet it's precisely within that reality that we begin to learn. In Buddhism, you cannot practice by thinking alone. You walk, you bow, you meet people, you fail, you get lost, you stand up again. Through this repetition, wisdom is not merely understood, it's lived. Life is not something we begin after discovering the perfect path. The path reveals itself as we walk. Courage, then, is not the absence of fear. It's a willingness to say, I do not have complete certainty, but I'll take the first step anyway. Once you take that step, a world that thinking alone could never reveal begins to appear before you, and reality itself becomes your teacher. Thinking is important, but life does not exist for thinking. Life exists for living. Thought is a map, but staring at a map forever will never take you to your destination. The first step is therefore more than movement. It's the beginning of wisdom. This brings us to a deeper question. What is freedom? The 1000-day Kaihōgyō of Sakai Yusai Dai-Ajari began, like any journey, with a single step. A journey of 1,000 days cannot begin without one step. But there's something more profound here. Why does a person choose to begin a difficult path at all? The body will become tired, the weather will turn against you, and the path will repeatedly refuse to go the way you want. Why voluntarily enter such a life? Here, we encounter a very different understanding of freedom. The political philosopher Hannah Arendt, reflecting on Saint Augustine, described human beings as creatures capable of making a beginning. That a beginning be made, man was created. To be born into the world is to bring something new into it. Every human being carries the possibility of beginning again. For Hannah Arendt, this capacity to begin something new is at the heart of human freedom. It's a powerful vision. But Buddhism asks another question. What happens after we begin? The Buddha saw human existence as entangled with aging, sickness, death, desire, fear, and suffering. The problem is not simply that we lack freedom. The problem is that we become attached to the things we believe will make us free. We become attached to success, to recognition, to our image of ourselves, to the belief that life must unfold according to our plans. And so Buddhism points toward another dimension of freedom, the freedom to let go. At first glance, these two visions seem very different. Hannah Arendt speaks of the freedom to begin. Buddhism speaks of the freedom to let go. But the Kaihōgyō of Mount Hiei offers us a remarkable bridge between them. Kaihōgyō is not simply a test of physical endurance. It's one of the spiritual practices of the Tendai sect, in which practitioners walk a distance of about 40 kilometers each day while offering prayers and repeatedly immersing themselves in the sacred scenery of Mount Hiei. The longest form of the practice takes place over 7 years with 1,000 days of walking. Some people in the West have called its practitioners marathon monks. The comparison is understandable. The physical distances are extraordinary. But the comparison can also be misleading. In sport, we usually seek to become faster, stronger, and better than before. The achievement belongs to the individual. Kaihōgyō points in another direction. The more one walks, the more one encounters one's own limitations. The body becomes tired, the weather changes, the mountain does not care about one's plans, and gradually one learns to let go. Let go of competition, let go of pride, let go of the need to be recognized, let go of the image of who you think you must be. You do not walk simply to make yourself greater. You walk to become less imprisoned by the self you have constructed. That's why the physical act is so important. The body walks through reality before the mind can explain it. And this is where the story of the mountain becomes our story. Our lives are the same. Every life begins with the freedom to begin something. A new relationship, a new vocation, a new responsibility, a new dream, a new chapter. We take a step and the drama of life begins. But things rarely proceed as we imagined. The road becomes steep, people disappoint us, our bodies change, plans collapse. We discover that we cannot control everything we thought we could control. And then something important happens. We are given a choice. We can spend our lives trying to force reality to conform to our expectations. Or we can learn to walk with reality as it actually is. Little by little, we may begin to let go. Let go of competition, let go of pride, let go of the need to be admired, let go of the idea that we must always succeed, let go of the belief that our lives must look a certain way. This does not mean giving up. It means becoming free. Many of us take our first step because we want to succeed. But whose definition of success are we following? Very often, it's a measuring stick of society. We are told what it means to be successful, what kind of career we should have, what kind of life we should build, what we should achieve, what others should think of us. And without realizing it, we begin to live according to someone else's definition of a good life. Buddhism invites us to step outside the measuring stick. The teaching of Jitomyo, be a light unto yourself, points toward a life not completely governed by external approval. It does not mean doing whatever we want, nor does it mean isolating ourselves from society. It means learning to live without being enslaved by the judgments of others. That's a very different kind of freedom. This is why Sakai Yusai's Kaihōgyō should not be understood simply as a spectacular feat of endurance. The achievement itself was not the final point. We should focus on the transformation that took place in the spirit of that person who kept walking. He once said, "The important thing is to enjoy the practice." To enjoy the practice does not mean that the path is easy. It means not being completely consumed by the result. There are mountains, there are valleys, there are days when the body is heavy, and the days when the path seems beautiful. To walk through all of them without clinging too tightly to the outcome, that's a kind of freedom. And perhaps this is where Hannah Arendt and Buddhism finally meet. Arendt reminds us, you are free because you can begin. Buddhism reminds us, you become free as you learn to let go. And Sakai's life shows us that these are not contradictory. They can happen in the same step. We begin by taking a step. We become free by letting go as we walk. So, what then is the first step? It's not necessarily a step toward success. It may be a step away from the need to succeed in the eyes of others. It may be a step away from fear, away from comparison, away from the belief that we must have everything figured out before we begin. The first step is not the promise that everything will work out. It's simply the decision to enter reality. And once we enter reality, life begins to teach us. We begin, we walk, we stumble, we learn, we let go, and then we walk again. Perhaps this is what freedom really means. Not the freedom to do whatever we want, but the freedom to begin and the freedom to let go. The freedom to choose a path and then to walk that path without being completely possessed by our expectations. Sakai Yusai's Ushiro Sugata, the figure of a person seen from behind, walking away from us, may say more than words ever could. Because sometimes a person does not teach us by telling us where to go. They simply walk, and seeing them walk, we find ourselves thinking, perhaps I can take a step too. That's how wisdom is passed on. One person begins, another person sees, and then another begins. Perhaps that's the deepest freedom a human being can give to another. Not the destination, but the courage to take the first step.